The Yellowstone landscape remains one of my absolute favorite places on the planet. I feel like I've grown up with these trees. I will say, as a scientist, it has just been an absolute privilege to be able to study this system. But Yellowstone will change, and it's changing at a faster rate than perhaps we had anticipated. I started in Yellowstone as a ranger naturalist at Old Faithful when I was 19 years old, and that summer is why I chose to become an ecologist. I've been studying the forests in Yellowstone for 35 years. We started during and then right after the 1988 wildfires. So Yellowstone and the '88 fires have given us a benchmark for kind of what happens in the normal sorts of conditions. Fire is very much a natural part of the forests in Yellowstone. We know that fires have burned in this landscape for the past 10,000 years at intervals of about 100 to 300 years. So historically, the forest regrows and it's mature before it burns again. Following the fires, you see just a carpet of tree seedlings coming right back in the first year.
It takes these forests almost 100 years to recover from a previous fire.
As the climate is now getting warmer and we're seeing drier conditions every summer, the fire return interval is starting to change. If the fires return before the trees have had a chance to produce cones and have seeds, these immature trees just don't have any seed source.
Even if the seeds are available, with a warming climate, the soils may be too hot and too dry for the seedlings to germinate and establish and grow successfully into big trees.
Many of those vast forests that we see throughout the landscape may disappear and be replaced by non-forest vegetation.
The forests are really struggling now to establish and survive. The climate seems to us to be changing at a faster rate than the tree species are even able to adapt and keep up. But what does that mean for the future of this landscape? How is this iconic area going to change as the 21st century unfolds? So obviously we can't collect data from a landscape that doesn't exist yet, but we also can't wait 40 or 50 more years to see what will happen. Instead, we use computer models which build on our years of past data to explore how the future may unfold, specifically to understand how the carbon emissions that are changing the atmosphere will affect the climate and the fire and the future of the Yellowstone landscape. That gives us an idea of how and where the landscape will change. Some areas may transition actually away from forests and into sagebrush or grassland or meadow. That would mean less trees to provide shade on the trails and along the rivers for hiking and fishing. It would mean that the animal species who rely on older forests will have less habitat. The overall aesthetic of the park is also going to change as the majestic old-growth forests disappear.
Yellowstone is so well known. It's the world's first national park. It's a good place to both help people appreciate the magnitude of climate change and the potential changes that we'll see in a landscape, and to do so in a place that people, they love. One of my doctoral students, Timon Keller, is using photographs that we can change based on the results of our computer simulation models that have been well tested and validated for this region, and translating those into pictures of landscapes that people see as they visit the Tetons and Yellowstone and the surrounding lands.
We've thought a lot about how we can communicate this work effectively and make sure that the results of the models that we produce are intuitive and easy for people to understand as they're passing by. And that's where those pictures come in.
It is really hard for people to visualize a landscape that they haven't seen yet, and to get people to understand the urgency of how things may change. So we hope that by depicting that, we'll help them understand really what changes are likely to happen in the future.
This is just such a cool reminder that the science that we do matters for people. We want to engage people in that process and share what we find to make people's lives better. And I think that really is something very special about this opportunity.
I know that places like Yellowstone are going to still be beautiful. There's still going to be places that inspire us. We know so many changes are coming. They're not going to be the same as they were.
But I have hope in the next generation of scientists and in our younger citizens. So many of them have been inspired by the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, and they really want to work hard to protect it. We can implement policies to restore the atmosphere, slow the rate of change, and protect Yellowstone and so many other natural areas and the resources on which all of us depend. Yellowstone is going to look different in the future, but how different it will become depends on all of us.